great time to be a Tiger Hunt Palmer, but this one is just a little bit better. And look, I won a national championship at LSU in 2007, and I had the same feeling last night being in that building. To see young men who Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Justin Jefferson and, look, Joe Burrow, that so many times in their athletic career were told, hey, you're good, but you're not good enough. You're good, but you probably won't be great. Or you'll play, but you're probably not going to be the guy. Or maybe, in Clyde's case, this is his first year to start. To see the joy on their face and to see that emotion, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I talked to Clyde after the game, that was one of the more emotional moments I've had on a football field, because I know what it took for that young man to get here. And obviously, you're talking about a talented roster. Do not get me wrong, because the people I just mentioned that nobody really wanted at times in their athletic career, very talented.
And somebody's going to want them in about April.
Probably the ones that don't have senior by their name as well.
Yeah.
So I think we all know that to be true. But, I mean, Jamar Chase, and look, he was highly rated obviously coming in, but his year and Thaddeus Moss, like, let's not forget Thaddeus Moss. I mean, he went through some struggles, right? He transfers from NC State. He sits out a year, and then he gets hurt. He had a foot issue. He tried to come back about 6 times last year. He can't come back, and you're wondering, okay, where's he at mentally? Is he going to be able to bounce back? And we talked about him in length on yesterday's show. There was a game plan, and Brent Venables knew it for Thaddeus Moss. Like, he knew that was going to be something they had to take care of. He catches multiple touchdowns there. Terrace Marshall, again, highly rated coming in, but you couldn't tell by the way he works and the way he goes about his business. This offensive line, how many times did we sit here in March and April and May and June and talk about, the offensive line? I'm including myself in this conversation. Can they do enough? There's some weakness there. Can they do it? Who's going to play left guard? Who's going to be the tackle? Dekia's going to be a guard, going to be a tackle. And they just gave a big you-know-what to a lot of people last night.
One thing that I heard on this station, I can't remember if it was Jimmy that brought it up or if it was the guys in the morning show, but did we even sub on offense last night? It was just straight 11 with Clyde and Thad. I don't remember anyone else playing.
So Clyde, I think
Curry got in there for like a half second.
I'm going to go back and chart. I think he had 3 plays off, and 2 of them were deep into the game. And I always mess with Clyde because he crosses his legs and he puts his hands on his hip and arches his back. He looks like Fred Sanford from Sanford and Son. And last night he didn't really have that many times. I'm like, dude, you're out there every play. He's like, hey, this game, I'll give him every play. They don't have to sub me. And they didn't really. You're right. I mean, it was go, go, go. And then even when, if you'll notice, when they first came out, they had a real tempo package ready to go. And then when it got a little hairy there as far as the score, they're like, okay, this tempo's not it. They're bringing cover 0. They're bringing 6. Let's slow it down. Let's figure it out. Let's give our guys a chance to see how this thing's working out. I thought that was key to the game as well, because I thought tempo was, I'll be honest, I thought tempo was the best to slow down what Venables wants to do, because he does so much. I didn't think he'd bring cover 0. And
I was shocked. One of those tempo plays you're talking about early, LSU got to 3rd down, went real fast, and he brought Simmons right up the A gap untouched, and he got to Joe. He had to throw it too early. But I mean, they had blitzes ready against the tempo, ready to come. Like, they were going to be aggressive start to finish, and it's just we don't have to now wonder what you could or couldn't do. We saw Texas bring the house all the time. It didn't work. We saw Auburn sit back in an umbrella the entire time. It didn't work. Saw Georgia sit back and try to cover. Didn't work. We watched Clemson try to bring 6 guys and confuse where they're coming from. Didn't work. Bama had a bunch of pros out there. That didn't work. Like, there was nothing you could have done. There's just not. The only chance you have is if you just cover LSU's receivers one-on-one like blankets, and there aren't college corners good enough to do it. So you just don't have any options.
So I worked post-game for SiriusXM as well, and we were talking to some of the Clemson players and some of their quotes, and even like some of their just, hey, right before we come on, some of the stuff they were saying, and they were talking about, look, we knew they had weapons, but he goes, when when you cover those guys up and all of a sudden Terrace Marshall catches one in the corner like he did, it's like it's and I forget the word he used, but basically it's how do you stop it? How do you stop? Like, think about LSU's third receiver, Terrace Marshall, leading the country in touchdown receptions. I don't know what that was. It fell. Something just fell down here.
It's all good.
I don't know, where he would ended up if he doesn't get hurt at Vanderbilt, but leading the country, and he's your 3.
Well, he's also 6'4", runs like a deer.
He's your 3, and you can tell Joe Burrow trusts him maybe more than anybody when it got into the red area, and that's your 3. In college football, in the pros, if you have a 3, you feel really good about your chances offensively. In college, it's hard to find. If you have 2, you feel pretty good about. And I know Alabama's got a quartet, but this is a different skill set I think that Terrace Marshall brings to the table. And we know Thaddeus, and we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We know 1 and 2 there as well. And obviously 9, but it doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter if you're a zone team or a man team. It doesn't matter if you bring cover 0. It doesn't matter if you bring 5 or 6. It doesn't matter if you play quarters to try to put a Band-Aid on it. Because of the number of weapons and because you might have success like Clemson did, and being backed up had something to do with that, you might have success early. But we have the weapons and enough of them. Whatever our adjustment is, you can't adjust to it, right? Because how many times in the season did we see a team have that second adjustment defensively that stopped LSU?
Never. No one stopped LSU. I mean, and one of the huge sources of LSU's production last night was just Chase just dominating Clemson's best corner. He just couldn't cover him. He just couldn't cover him. And every time Joe saw one-on-one with Chase and Terrell, he threw it. And he just ate him up.
And really, you didn't have to specialize with Clyde Edwards-Helaire running the football. And I'll be honest, I thought there was times that they probably went away from it for too long. There was a big chunk of actual game clock, not just like real time, but game clock about 9-10 minutes where you didn't hand it off to your running back. I felt like that could have been something that they used, but they didn't need it. Scored 42 points.
The drunk guy in my section wanted LSU to run the ball more.
Put over 600 yards of offense. And when Clyde did get his opportunities, he made the most of them.
Yeah, he ran the clock out when they needed him at the end. I wanted that touchdown at the end.
Oh, me too. And then go for 2 and make it 50.
Yeah, I needed a 50 burger.
And then make it 50. 16 carries, 110 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And again, a game that they didn't even have to specialize in him running the football. And I know I talk about him a lot, and I do have a good relationship with Clyde, over the last couple of years, covering him, getting to know him, just talking football with him. His skill set fits so well into what this team did this year. With next year's crop, and I don't want to get too far into this, but since we're coming up on a break and I do want to talk about Clyde, what do you do with next year? How do you replicate what Clyde Edwards-Helaire just gave you, just from a pure skill standpoint?
Well, this is like the thing I'm least qualified to talk about, but the point is that you don't have anybody on your roster that you look at and say, okay, do what Clyde did, because they can't play like that. It's like I'm not going to, go find tell Darius Days that he has to play exactly like, Cavell Bigby Williams. Well,
Right.
He can't do that. These guys aren't him. They can be productive and you can do some things with them, but you have to do different things.
And that's okay, because throughout the season, we've thrown the stat out there about 91% usage rate for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That doesn't have to be the case.
No.
It just so happened that, look, they trusted him. They trusted him in those situations. They didn't want him to come off the field. You can sub and get multiple guys in there, but when you've got a guy that you're like, hey, this is my guy, this is who I trust, that's why your usage rate's going to be a 91%. But we've seen LSU win national championships in 03 and 07 when 4, 5, 6 guys carried the ball there, so we'll look a little bit different. Again, not getting too far into next year because, man, we've got so much more to talk about with this game. LSU, they go beat the team that hadn't lost 29 contests. They beat little old Clemson, Dabo Swinney, a team that, right now I mean, going into last night's game before it kicked, standard in college football, and that's why I think that we just saw the greatest single season in college football history. We'll talk about that and more. I know Hunt's hit it. We'll circle back there. Hanging with Hester, presented by Richard Honda.
Hanging with Hester.
That was Jesse Palmer after, of course, last night's victory, talking about Joe Burrow, what he's done, and where his legacy will be. I don't have to debate, or actually, I will debate, whoever wants to debate. And I know that Cam Newton had a special season. I know that only one of those guys played in the NFL, and Joe Burrow's got talent all around him. He had a lot of talent last year. He had a good season, not anything close to he had. LSU had a lot of talent in years past. You got to have that general back there that can lead that talent to victory, that can put them in the spot to succeed. Anybody that wants to argue it, I will argue it. Look, he broke Colt Brennan's record. Colt Brennan, and look, friend with Colt. He was my draft class. Good dude. Colt Brennan was throwing against whack defenses. Yep. And not like whack like they're bad, but like Western Athletic Conference defenses.
Also bad.
Also bad as well. He was going against Utah State every week, where Joe just went against them once. He was going against inferior opponents to Hawaii. Joe did it against the Blue Bloods, Texas, Auburn, Florida, Bama, Oklahoma, Georgia, Clemson. That's what makes it the best single season in college football history. And we're not even counting the fact that he has the total touchdowns as well because of what he did with his legs.
Now, and I had a special. I'm not as old as a lot of people that listen to this show, so I don't have reference on Herschel Walker or Bo Jackson or any of those guys that played.
I played that position, and you can be a game changer. You have to. This conversation starts and ends with the quarterback.
Right, but I watched Cam, and Cam has always to me been the best college football player I ever saw live. I mean, I saw Manziel, and obviously LSU put a muzzle on him twice, but he was an exciting player. We watched him on TV a ton, and you've seen some excellent players. Tua Tagovailoa is an excellent player. Burrow is now the gold standard in my eyes, so I'll compare everyone to. You're going to have to try to be better than that guy. Because Tebow, no. Awesome. Drove me nuts. I felt like he was never going to make a mistake. Tough player. Picked up third downs. Picked up fourth downs.
3rd and 6.
Yeah. I mean, he was really good. Not this.
Yeah. And Johnny Manziel, flashy. A lot of excitement. Not close.
No.
Not even playing for a championship. That has to play into this as well.
They needed to finish it last night. I'm so glad they did.
Because 2011 LSU was a damn good football team. Yeah. One that should be talked about as amongst the greatest. If you don't finish, they don't talk.
Yep.
That's just how it is. And typically, and I'm very fortunate to work over there and do some stuff over there and be on the sideline for most games. Outside of the running backs, I usually don't talk to anybody, right? After halftime, I went up to all the guys, and I'm like, hey, these things, they last forever. Yeah. When you put champion by your name, they last forever. Nobody can take them away unless you're cheating. They don't go anywhere. And I told them, you'll be remembered forever because you will. I said, look, my old butt's still here 12 years later, and I get to work for the team. They last forever, and all you have to do is finish it. And, boy, did they finish it. And I'm so glad you said that because I felt the same way. I wanted this team to be able to have that, to be able to be 15-0. You know how hard it is to go 15-0?
Been done exactly 0 times in SEC history.
15-0.
1 now.
And so this put the icing on the cake for me, and the fact that they beat the defending champion, the fact that they beat who a lot of people assumed has taken over for Alabama as the standard in college football. And think about it, the last 2 years, they've beaten 2 teams that hadn't lost in a long time, but before they played LSU. Regardless of what you think of Central Florida, they hadn't lost in 2 years before they played LSU as well. So it's building. I know it's going to be a challenge. I know it's going to be, man, he's leaving too. Dang, that guy's leaving. That's the challenge, fair, unfair, that every championship team is going to be, tagged with. And I've said it on record many times. In 2008, we dropped the ball. We're 8-5. We didn't take a championship season and propel it into playing for 3 of the next 4, like Alabama and Clemson have done. So, hey, that's the challenge. And this team, when they're challenged, they usually stand toe-to-toe and say, let's go.
They were challenged last night a couple times for a team that's had it so easy. And I thought, one of the adverse spots that you may not talk about as much in the game was you have that flurry of points at the end of the second quarter, and you go into half thinking, man, we can get another score here. We can take control of this game. You go 3 and out, punt, kick catch interference, then a face mask on 30 yards worth of penalties, and they punch in for a touchdown, and all of a sudden you're right back in a dogfight.
That fair catch interference, by the way, from your angle.
I couldn't tell if he touched him or not.
The guy swiped his hand to hit the LSU player, but sorry, keep going.
No, I mean, I couldn't see it.
That's
I'm
another
up in the
reason
upper deck.
why my voice is that was another play.
Oh man, but there were times where Clemson tried to punch back, but eventually they ran out.
But really think about, and you're right, this team has had to fight a couple times. Think about the fact that they went 15-0, playing 7 top 10 teams. We've gone down the list, and they never had to get in a 2-minute drill to go win a game. That's how dominant they were. They never
Not only they didn't have to do that, nobody even had a chance to go on their own 2-minute drill to win the game.
Not one time.
Never.
Now, LSU had some 4-minute offensive drives that put a nail in the coffin, which that's closing the game, so they know how to close. They never had to do that, and you're exactly right. The defense was never put on the field saying, hey,
and that's been
them or we're gonna
my
lose.
entire life has been the defense has to go win at the end. My entire life. That's how you win the game. It's never go down there and score at the end. It's always hold the lead. And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But, you tried a couple times against Alabama in Tiger Stadium and couldn't do it. Instead, you just go beat them. This team just went and beat people.
Even in Tuscaloosa, when it seemed like it was about to get real hairy there, and they're scoring, and this is happening, and this is happening, you felt like, hey, they're not stopping us. They're not stopping what LSU's doing. So the confidence that this team gave everyone on the team, obviously, the coaches, and even the fans, I don't remember ever going into 3 contests as confident as I was going into Georgia, Oklahoma, and Clemson. Hun, if I would have sat here and told you August 30th, we're going to play Clemson for the Natty, and you and I are going to be talking, and we're both like, oh, we're good. We got this. And not have that panic. That's what this team did for everyone's mentality.
I opened the show with it.
That's what makes them the greatest.
Yeah, I opened the show with it. I said I am, generally speaking, pretty level-headed. I'm not the guy that's all doom and gloom. We have no chance. I'm not the guy that says, "Oh, we're going to kick everybody's ass." Like I'm not. But this team flipped that switch in me where it didn't want. Everyone asked me, what do you think's going to happen? We're going to kill them. We're going to blow them out. Then we did.
I mean, every radio hit that I did, every show that I did, every chalk talk I did, I would give my opinion before the game, and I could tell I was getting some eyes like, hold on, man. It's Clemson. This is like just telling you that when you're around a team like this and it doesn't happen very often, that's what the feeling that you get, and that's what the confidence can come because of the preparation. And it's, man, we're gonna be talking about this one for a very, very, very long time. So many angles, so many aspects to get into it. We need to go ahead and take a break. We'll catch up here. We'll be back. Hanging with Hester, presented by Richards Honda.
Hanging with Hester with Jacob Hester.